Welcome to Tiger Wolf. I'm Josh, and this is David.
Please be aware, this podcast contains strong language and spoilers.
Today we're having Tangential Discussion. Our topics are going to be paid for additional content for games.
I can hear you groaning already from the nether.
I honestly, if done right, I don't have a problem with this at all. I understand the business aspect of, yes, you're charging $60 for your game. There's a lot of whatever comes out for this, that, and the other for it. But at the same time, you're making a product that takes years to make, and that's all you're getting out of it. So it makes sense to, if you add more, continue to work on it and make money based off of that. I'm all for that. I understand it is a good way, and honestly, it adds content that I have enjoyed for games. Mm-hmm. First off, we're going to be talking about the big ones, the DLC.
Yeah.
And how I think some companies have done it right. And I actually can't think of, off the top of my head right now, maybe once we get into it, I'll know. Any that have done it what I would consider specific wrong way.
Yeah.
Do you want to start the conversation on this?
So, most people think when they think of, DLC, they think of like one of the ones I've loved recently, City That Never Sleeps for Spider-Man for the PS4.
Okay.
It was 3 stories that all had a loose connective tissue, but the reason they were DLC and not part of the main game is because chronologically they take place after the end of the main game, because certain things are referenced that happen in the main game.
Well, I think the assumption for most DLCs is that you've already finished the main content.
Yeah. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought it was actually worth the $30 that I paid for it.
That's good. Honestly, so that goes along with what I think is the right way to do DLC, is that it's not necessarily a continuation of the main story, but other short stories.
Yeah.
That potentially and probably happen chronologically afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, anything Bethesda's done for DLC has been exactly that, especially for Fallout. Yeah. It's basically a short story. Some of them, like for Fallout 3 and that, can be done at any time. They don't have to happen. Some of the short stories for Skyrim are like the Dragonborn thing. I think that's supposed to happen after the main story. But maybe not. I'm not really... I never played it. I did play a little bit of Dawn Guard. I never finished it. That's just completely unconnected and happens in the same world.
Yeah.
And but Fallout ones are specifically, you go to this new area and that's where you do your DLC, basically.
Yeah.
And it's just this other short story for your character to be running through, basically. And I think that's the right way to do it. That it's not... it's basically the fears gamers had when DLC started becoming a thing was that these companies were going to plan this game and then the DLC where you can actually get the real ending type of thing,
Yeah.
And it has yet that I can think of been that. You have anything?
It'd be a meme pot shot, and it's not actually true. So.
Okay.
Mass Effect. Third one?
That wasn't paid for DLC.
Oh, no, but
that's specifically what we're talking about.
Some of the paid for DLC for it wasn't necessarily worth it. Like, one of them literally was all of your former teammates on the Citadel having a party, killing random enemies for no reason. Like, I get it. You just want to have fun. Cool. But at the same time, that's kind of an odd one. Or, the DLC that was supposed to happen with Andromeda that they canceled.
Well, and then that kind of brings up the other side of the thing here. Like, we were always so concerned that they were gonna plan these DLCs before they finish the game. Obviously, they're gonna plan them. That's the best business practice for this. If you're gonna do it, then know what the fuck you're gonna do.
Yeah, don't be square.
I don't know if that's just like an insult from the 80s or if you're talking about Enix. Anyway,
we don't know how big or how many episodes Final Fantasy VII Remake's gonna be.
That's not DLCs. That's just them not being able to make a fucking game for some reason. It's gonna be,
like initially they're like, hey, it's gonna be installments. Okay, so they're gonna do disc 1, disc 2, disc 3. Cool.
Probably.
And then they're like, look, it could be 3, it could be 9, it could be 20 for all we know. You need to slow your roll. I don't have $60 to pay you every year for a new installment of 7.
You hear this optimism, guys? He thinks that there's going to be a release every year for this. This is like an every 5-year thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's because
I won't live to see the end of it.
I think that's because they want to explore the world in a depth that they didn't get a chance to in the first time.
Yeah.
And they know that a lot of the players are willing to go on that journey.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm not, but
I feel like, I mean, of the fucking series that they have, the games that they have in that, 7 is the one that they've fleshed out the most lore of. Because they have like 6 games based off of it. And a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like I have to say, like, I'm glad to see that there has yet to be big instances of, well, it's for just $20 more, you can get the rest of the game.
I know there's one out there. I know there has been. I can't think of it.
And honestly, free DLC and things like that have been a big thing. I mean, the updates, I think the ones for this year are going to be the last of the free ones for No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Because now
now
as of
basically
as of their first major update, it was basically a shippable game.
It was basically the game they promised.
No,
I mean now.
Now it's more than that. It's actually more than what they promised now, because there's base building, and you can have a fleet of ships. You have a submarine. You can have
the rovers,
the rover, and you can, like, there's honestly there's more to it than I can just list off right now because I don't know it all off the top of my head. Plus, there's another update coming where they're doing full VR support. They state specifically that it's not going to be like a port to VR. They're trying to make it like it was made in VR.
That's
yeah. And on top of that, something else that was a big deal for that. Fuck, I can't remember. Oh, actual online play is supposed to be part of that as well. And a third thing that they haven't revealed yet. And I think that might be because they're not trying to overpromise.
Yeah.
But they've done really well to say, all right, we fucked up.
We're gonna
this is what we're doing about it. And
we're gonna fix it, guys. We promise.
The stuff that they've added has been ridiculously, like, well done. There's still a few issues, like when it comes to base building. You can't exactly, while there is a terrain thing to change the terrain, and that, do not use that for your base building because it comes back when it reloads that area.
Oh,
which makes sense given as large as the game is. and how much it makes sense that it can't save those much smaller changes to a world
Yeah.
on scale. But if you can find a good place and you build your base there in it, like, do it. Yeah, it's good. You can make portals that take you to and from like other portals that you set up, or to
So like the space
stations.
stations and whatnot.
Yeah, they fleshed out. They actually have like stores on the space station now, and a bunch of missions and stuff you can do. The missions are still a little bland, but I feel like that's because it's hard to make them more interesting because of the scale of the game.
Yeah.
Like some things just inherently are going to be a little washed out. But they've done a really good job of adding life to this galaxy that they created. I'm impressed, and I'm happy that they've done the needed work
Yeah.
to kind of reclaim themselves. I would definitely be interested in seeing what they have going forward, because they've definitely learned a lot from this experience.
Yeah. All right. So, can you think of any time where you did not enjoy the paid DLC?
I don't think you understand how rare it is I get DLC.
Fair enough.
I usually get it as part of a package, or like Fallout 4. Because of something, you could get the season pass for like dirt cheap, and they were adding stuff. Like they were like, yeah, well, there's going to be more, and for right now, it's still going to be this low price of such and such, when we only planned for there to be like 2.
Yeah.
I don't. I can't think of much. I've heard not great things about the DLC for Far Cry 5.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the DLC I've gotten for like certain Call of Duties and that have been a little lacking, but that's usually because I didn't really like the way they were doing whatever it was, like the zombies for that game or something like that. Which I generally like the zombies in that on them.
There's another example of one I loved. XCOM 2, War of the Chosen.
See, that one's like a story expansion, but it's more of an expansion than it is like you didn't finish the story before, right?
Well, the thing of it, initially, during original development, it was going to be XCOM 3. The War of the Chosen was going to be the third XCOM game. They got most of it finished, and we're like, let's just give it to them now. So they did. They finished out the last bit of it and then made it DLC for XCOM 2. I mean, it is technically its own story. Like, you can play the original XCOM 2 game, or you can play XCOM War for the Chosen, or War of the Chosen. And if you choose War of the Chosen, it adds a couple of classes and...
I see. So it's like with Prey Moon Crash, where it's just a completely different thing you select separately.
Yep. And honestly, I prefer War of the Chosen over the main game. It's more interesting. The enemies are more... The boss enemies are a bit more engaging. And you have to plan around because they each have their own specific niche they fit in. One's a psionic, one is a sniper, and one is up close and personal.
That's cool. On the other hand, or on a different hand, anyway, we also have microtransactions. How do you feel about microtransactions, David?
look, you give me this, you give me $5, and you can download this character, this specific player from this team to have on your special team for FIFA. And you can't get this character through normal play. Like you can't earn him. You have to pay the money to get this this player to be able to use them in the online.
I feel
play.
like isn't that half the fun people have with sports games though? Is being able to have everybody they want to have on their team and
in the older ones, you could earn everyone. In this new age of microtransactions, some players you can't earn. You have to purchase them.
Okay.
So that's kind of shitty.
There's arguments to be made here because it's like, does that affect the gameplay?
It can.
Does it affect the gameplay as designed?
If you have a character who...
The answer is no.
Well, some of the characters you can't get without buying are legitimately faster runners than the characters you can unlock.
No, that's not the question I was asking you.
That affects the game.
The game, not the gameplay. The gameplay is the same.
So, okay, if you have a gun that shoots 3 rounds per blast, and I have a gun that I got through DLC that shoots 5 rounds per blast, that's not affecting anything but the game itself. But the argument is, I can kill you faster because I can shoot faster. He can run faster, he can score faster. So it affects the game, thereby infecting the gameplay, because if you have this character who is designed to be better and faster than all of the regular players you can get, that puts a pay-to-win aspect there.
There's a little bit of a difference there in the fact that some players just are that good.
Yes, they are. Some are. I'm not arguing that fact.
It's not.
But if they specifically code it that the character you buy is definitely better than any of the characters you can unlock.
Well, see, I don't know because I don't know that much about FIFA, but last I knew, you could like build up their stats and stuff. So it's more like you don't have to put the work in for it.
That argumentally falls into another play to win or pay to win. You know, why spend my time leveling up this Pokemon when I could just buy him at, level 40?
I mean, this argument could be made from back then when you could just buy rare candies.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's glitches you could use to make money.
Yes, there were glitches where you could make rare candies available in stores. But
there's always a store that had them.
But I mean, like,
I think
another example,
Oh no, it was the stats. I'm thinking of the stats ones.
This happened kind of recently. I was reading the chat in Final Fantasy 14,
mm-hmm.
and someone was complaining about the story to newest expansion, Shadowbringers, and they're like, and someone's like, how are you not enjoying the story? Oh, well, I bought the thing to just put me at 80 and skip the story. Well, you don't get to complain about the fucking story.
Yeah, if you chose to. So there's an adventure game that I was playing recently. No, it's not on the level of microtransactions as this was added to the game for free.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a helpline to help people who get stuck. Because adventure games can be really tough with the puzzles and stuff like that. And this was old school.
Yeah.
There was a post I saw online, and it was a bunch of people agreeing with him that it was a terrible ad to the game because it ruined the game for him because he didn't have the self-control to not use it. How the fuck is that the game developer's problem? If you don't have the self-control to not use the help that they put in for people who just can't continue.
Who just can't figure out the puzzle.
Right.
Like, they can't. Something about it's just they aren't getting. Okay, the help is there for them. Right? And
Right. Like, if you use that hint line, then you are using that hint line. You can't blame somebody else for you using that hint line.
that starts getting dangerously close to another topic that we probably should not broach. It has nothing to deal with DLC, nothing to deal with microtransactions, or even
Well, I mean,
other thing we were talking about.
I mean, I can tie this to microtransactions. Would it have been okay for them to charge people to have that hint line? Would that be pay to win if they did?
Is your game designed specifically so that it is intentionally hard? Is that the point of the game design, such as Dark Souls? Or is it
It's an old school
game designed to be something that
it's from the makers,
people will enjoy?
It's from the same. I don't know if it's from LucasArts, but it's from people who used to make the LucasArts adventure games. They have a whole bunch of references to their old games and stuff in it too. It's pretty good. It has the very good nostalgic feel to it while still being modern in its adventure. Like, it's a pixelated game and stuff like that, but like the dialogue in that is very modernized, which is nice, and stuff like that.
Like, did you have much trouble with like the puzzles in Tomb Raider?
Tomb Raider, no, but that's not the same. I don't think you understand what I mean by adventure game.
Or is it like a
Sierra?
Oh, okay.
Only because I poke fun at Sierra about this. You don't die if you do something and it's just not the thing you're supposed to be doing.
You could do the right thing and Sierra would still kill you.
But that's what I mean. It's like those tough puzzles of like thinking outside the box and in weird ways, basically, and just kind of having the luck of trying to use this on this sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it didn't make sense otherwise.
I feel like having it as being a paid service probably would have been a little fucked from a moral standpoint. Because you're literally taking advantage of people who are in a position where it's either they pay the money to continue the game or they just stop playing the game.
Are you, though? Because all the answers are going to be online. There's walkthroughs and stuff.
Yeah, now, yes.
This game was released like in the last 5 years.
How old are we?
I don't know about you, but I'm 23.
I think you reversed your numbers there.
Nope. That wouldn't be right either.
Nope, it wouldn't. But
I mean, is it taking advantage of them to put in an in-game way to help you with this? And again, the question was more, does that become pay to win?
I feel like it does.
But my main issues with pay to win is when it's a game that you play with other people. MMOs, especially competitive games. This is not. This is a single player game. So is it pay to win or is it pay to complete?
I mean, arguably, I've already paid to complete it if I bought the game.
And you could go online and find a walkthrough on it that is also going to spoil you for what's coming next.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, fact of the matter is they didn't charge for it. But honestly, I wouldn't have naysayed them for doing it. I'm not saying it would be the best practice, but I can understand. We're providing you with the opportunity to have an in-game, like, canon way of getting help with these puzzles so that you don't have to, simultaneously have a walkthrough up and whatnot, and then also potentially get plot points ruined for you because of it. And even then, like the way the hints work is it basically gives you a vague thing, and then you can ask it to be more specific. Like, I'm really not getting it. Can you be more specific?
Can you narrow that down some more?
And it still doesn't tell you exactly what you're doing. It's like you need to do something related to this with this type of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been okay, because then one, you would have those people who are complaining about it ruining the game for them. It wouldn't be ruining the game for. And also, like, it allows someone to enjoy the game without ruining the game.
Yeah.
When
it comes to microtransactions, I feel like microtransactions should be completely limited to cosmetic things.
I feel like there's some functional that's okay because it's kind of like a cosmetic functional or a quality of life improvement, which is what that would be. That would be okay because it's not fundamentally making you excel at the game via purchases.
Yeah.
One good example of what I mean is something from ESO is the craft bag. It's a you have to pay. Actually, you have to pay for the membership in order to get it. It's a monthly membership.
Yeah,
they have free play where you don't get this.
Mhm.
If you pay the membership, which basically if you support us, you get this item, this function.
Yeah,
along with there's a lot of other benefits that come with the membership. The craft bag allows you an infinite storage space for specifically craft items.
Okay.
Which is nice because I have boosted up on that game. I've boosted my bank storage a few times, which means I just poured money into it so that I could put craft items in there so I don't have to have them in my inventory.
Yeah. That'd be nice for Square to give us. I mean, Square did give us saddlebags for your Chocobo, which is just
cool.
Extra inventory
storage. Yeah,
space.
That's still cool.
So, I mean, that's pretty useful.
I mean, that was one of my favorite newest things on Minecraft.
That's where most of my materia is right now. Actually, is in my Chocobo saddlebags.
I feel like stuff like that is okay, but it's definitely borderline, right?
Yeah.
When it starts getting into, because quality of life is nice, but at what point does that become such a benefit that you're excelling?
You're excelling. Like one of the things Square offers for 14, because this is where most of my dealings with microtransactions and things come from, an MMO.
Mm-hmm.
You can pay to have, like, in game, you get 2 retainers. People you can send out to go, acquire items or, things like that. You can pay to have an additional retainer. And another thing the retainers do is they are what put your items on the global market board where other players can go and be like, oh, cool, someone put, this mithril sword up for, 2,000 less than what it was up for earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Buy that one. That limits, you're limited to 20 items on the market board per retainer.
Okay.
But so there's those, which, that's not too terrible, but they also have storage space. They can hold items for you. So it gives you a whole nother chunk of space to put more items that you've accumulated. For
honestly, that sounds like it'd be more of a pain in the ass, because what you're telling me is you have saddlebags for your Chocobo, you have your inventory, you probably have some kind of bank storage, and now also these retainers. And it's
retainers are basically your bank storage, basically, unless you're part of a free company and there's actually a locker, for lack of a better term, a safe that you can go and access that has pages that everyone in the free company can access. So if, one of your members of the free company put out something, hey, can somebody get me some Algoat leather? You can just go to, if you have some and you're in the area.
Do they have like requisition requests or stuff like that?
Sort of.
So it seems like. Anyway, that's getting off topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for microtransactions, like cosmetics is the way to go, and limit anything that is enhancing.
Yeah.
76 is getting dangerously close on that
Yeah.
line right now because they've added scrap kits, which scrap all your junk and send it back to your stash. So it's like borderline craft bag type of thing.
Yeah.
And there's some complaints online that this is getting way too close to pay to win stuff. Because they stated outright that the Atomic Store where you get this from is only going to be
Would
cosmetics.
only be cosmetic stuff. You know, or in the terms of Final Fantasy XIV, glamour items. They're level 1 items that you can make what your armor currently.
Well, it's not just that, but like
whatever
pets, things like that. That's all cosmetic.
Mounts, or minions, mounts, things like that.
Yeah,
all of that.
That's all cosmetic stuff. So that was our conversation on DLC, and honestly, like I'm kind of surprised that where we currently are is that the games that we play, and this might be related, generally don't abuse these things. There are games out there that do. Speaking of, if you'd like us to talk about surprise mechanics, go ahead and let us know.
Well, I suppose that's the end of the episode.
Please like, comment, follow, and share. And also, more importantly, thank you for listening.
Take care.
Bye!